Good evening, afternoon, whenever you happen to be listening. Popular Monster by Falling in Reverse brings us in to the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sport in black and white.
Here on the Not to Network podcast network. So I actually told Eva the name of the network, and she's like, "You got to be kidding me!" And I'm like, "Nope." It sounded funny. We decided to go with it.
Hey, we're full of shtick. If anybody should know that, she should.
I mean, she is dating me, and she knows that I'm full of shtick and chicanery, and the occasional shenanigans as well. Family show.
You can't just throw
I'm your host. That's why I'm moving forward. I'm your host. I am the voice of reason. Allegedly. My name is Harry Broadhurst. Joining me as per usual, he is the HNIC of the podcast division of American Whammy Productions, as well as the anchorman and the DSDO here with yours truly anyways. He's Erik Watkins.
Oh, felt a little change of attire was needed for this week.
Well, I don't know about you. I mean, congratulations to them. It'll be nice to watch them get their ass whooped by TCU in 2 weeks. But my Lions are going to the Rose Bowl.
I told you. I feel
like this is the first time they've been in the Rose Bowl since like the early 2010s.
Thereabouts, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens as they take on Utah. Hey, that's kind of ironic because my other team beat them at the start of the season. So now Penn State gets to beat them to finish the season.
Lovely little bookend for you.
It'll be wonderful, especially to see what happens on January 2nd. Seriously, January 2nd for the Rose Bowl? Who the booked this?
Okay,
anyway.
Remember, New Year's
NFL Sunday. NFL Sunday. I know. They don't want to compete against the NFL. I get it.
And if the NFL decided, you're going to have a longer season and longer playoffs, maybe, just maybe, go ahead and have games starting back Labor Day weekend. This wouldn't be as much of a problem. But when we get to 2024, it'll be a whole different animal.
Especially with the college football season probably tacking on another week or two with the 12-team playoff. What he's telling our audio listeners is I'm right on the nose with that particular prediction. All right, we start the show how we always start the show, Erik.
And it's funny that he mentions this as we do indeed go into studs and duds.
I was waiting for you to read JTN's comment.
What the heck is with Watkins and those colors? Hashtag damn it, Toby. Hashtag hail to the victors. Well.
At least he's not wearing Florida State colors. We can say that much. Exactly. All right, let's get back on track here with our studs. And so my stud is Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur?
Yeah, Shedeur. Shedeur.
Is it Shedeur?
Yeah.
Shadeur.
Yeah, Shedeur.
Quarterback, Jackson State University. Hold that thought. The Southwestern Athletic Conference, henceforth known as the SWAC, held its championship game this past weekend, and the Jackson State Tigers took on the
Southern Jaguars,
who are more commonly known for their game against Grambling every year.
Mm-hmm.
But in this particular instance, Southern played in the SWAC title game against Jackson State. Shedeur Sanders is the quarterback for Jackson State and proceeded to go 30 of 43 for 320 yards. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, a passing long of 41 yards, and a passer rating, not a QBR, a passer rating of 163.0, as Jackson State defeated Southern 43-24 to secure their berth in the Celebration Bowl against North Carolina Central for the HBCU championship.
And credit to Coach Prime, to Shedeur, capping off not only back-to-back SWAC titles, but an undefeated regular season this year.
So, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, and Shedeur Sanders of Jackson State University. Yeah, enjoy those words while they're used together, because they won't be used together much longer. More on that next week. Hit the doggo. There was a lot on the news desk this week. Something had to get bumped. We're sorry, Coach Prime.
Hey, look, you got your baggage. It's Louis. Ours isn't even Coach. We know we can't compete.
So we will have that story and all of the fallout there. Well, I mean, there is some fallout that we are going to get to this week. But the full-on coaching carousel will begin to spin next week here on BWSR. Mr. Yeah, it's getting ugly. We'll talk about it here in a few moments. Who's your stud for the week, Eric?
You know, before someone said about a certain team's colors that will never touch my skin, well, great indeed. Exactly. You wonder why I wear these colors. Yes, Michigan undefeated. Yes, back-to-back outright Big Ten championships in first time in over 20 years. But one particular man who really stepped up, with Blake Corum hurt, Donovan Edwards, running back for those Wolverines, followed through with the plan, controlling everything on the ground. And may I add that game pretty much played to perfection for my betting spread. You're welcome. 25 carries, 185 yards, and a touchdown in a could have been more dominant front door cover 43-22 Michigan win over the Purdue Boilermakers.
One of only 2 conference championship games yours truly got correct last week. It was not a great week for me in the conference title games.
I mean, it wasn't entirely the best for me either, but I held my own.
Better than I did. You at least got 4 of the 10.
I'm telling you.
Quit trying to inject your shtick into our show, Nielsen.
But he has a point.
We'll get to that when we get to that. Specifically, but we'll get to that when we get to that specifically at the end of the show when we do Are You Serious for the week. Anywho, so we've been doing these year-long pick'ems. And it comes down to Monday Night Football once again.
Second
as
consecutive
it did last week.
Yep.
You were 9-5-1. I believe I was 8-6-1 at that, or you were 9-4-1 at that time. I was 8-5.
8-5-1. 8-5-1.
Because there were 15 games this past weekend. Only 2 teams on bye.
Right.
I took New Orleans in the Monday Night Football game, and our football predictions are done straight up. They're not done against the spread. We just do the actual picking games thing straight up. And with 8 minutes and 2 seconds left in the fourth quarter, the New Orleans Saints led 16-3 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With 3 seconds left in the fourth quarter, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers led 17-16 as the Saints defense completely fell apart.
Yeah, the word snake bitten and a couple of others came to mind repeatedly, especially on that last drive. I mean,
I have a
I
question.
go ahead.
I have a very important. Where's Sean Payton in Bountygate when you need him?
I mean, there's been teams sniffing around and saying, "Hey, Sean, want to come back? Want to come back? Want to come
I've
back?"
actually heard that, and there's talk that he might be back as early as next season.
I'm not surprised. Anytime you got Kevin James playing in a movie, which in some ways I get, but in other ways it's like, huh?
A pair of less than 10-yard touchdown passes, 1 yard front to Cade Otton, backup tight end, and 6 yards to Rashad White, rarely used wide receiver. And 10-4-1 takes 8-6-1 when I needed a Saint 2-point victory and they were up by 13 with 8 minutes to play. Hey, Nolans. To quote Jim Cornette, thank you, fuck you, bye, pricks.
To quote Charles Barkley, that's a bad beat, Scott Van Pelt. From the New Orleans Saints. And if it makes you feel any better, at least you weren't John 5-9-1.
How Marilyn Manson familiar are you?
Fairly.
There was a song that he had called Saint.
Mm-hmm.
The S was in parentheses because the line in the chorus is "What's my name? What's my name? Hold the yes because I am an ain't." Gee, if that doesn't fucking fit right now. Erik, who's your dud?
You talk about one team imploding in the fourth quarter. While
Squid Bit.
Really?
An impressive one, only stopping it after the one ding.
Well, I had the loop button going and I saw to turn it off first. That was historic because it was the first time in regulation and only the second time in Tom Brady's career where he was in that situation, trailing last minute to go 7 points and came back and won. First time he'd done it in the regular season. However, in this one, I'm going to double up a little bit for you.
It's a second Squid Bit?
It is the largest fourth quarter in terms of points scored in Dallas Cowboys history on Sunday night. There's one team imploding when they have a lead and you get the comeback, you only lose by a point. There's another team imploding to where you were within 2 and you wind up on the end of a major scoregami. That's right. For those audio listeners, Harry just flashed it. That was a 21-19 lead at the end of the third quarter at Jerry World.
Twas.
The final score of that game, the Colts ended on 19, but the Dallas Cowboys ended on 54. You heard correctly. The Cowboys scored 33 points en route to a blowout scoregami win.
Yeah. I was looking great with Indianapolis minus 10.5 after 3 quarters.
Yep.
Or, excuse me, plus 10.5.
Yeah. 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 That just went way south. But I mean, look, I didn't have the best point differential last week either. Don't feel bad.
A Michael Gallup 3-yard touchdown pass from Dak Prescott. A Malik Hooker 38-yard fumble return, 2-point conversion fails. So now they're at 15 points for the quarter. A 30-yard Tony Pollard run, extra point blocked. So now they're at 21 or 19 points for the quarter. An Ezekiel Elliott 4-yard touchdown run, which did help me win my fantasy football game this week.
Hey, bright side.
That's 28 point or 26 points so far. And then a Malik Davis 23-yard touchdown run because both Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott were benched. And that makes for 33. Extra points good on both the Ezekiel Elliott and Malik Davis scores.
Yeah, there was a lot more. Yeah, 33 points. The most the Cowboys have ever scored in the fourth quarter.
I would have to argue that that's probably up there for most points ever scored in a fourth quarter in the NFL.
By a single team.
It's got to be up there.
It's, I want to say, top 5, if not top 3. I would have to go back to see that 1940 NFL championship, how many points the Bears scored in the fourth quarter on that one.
Was that the 73-0 over Washington game?
After Washington talked a whole bunch of shit earlier in the season, yes.
Because wasn't there earlier meeting in the season like a 7-6 game or whatever?
Either 7-6 or 9-7.
Something like that.
And then the top brass of Washington talked everything. They're not real men. They're listless. They're this, they're that. They literally took a spoon and poked George Papa Bear Hallis.
Hold on a second. You're telling me an incompetent Washington franchise? Segue! So, that happened.
Well, this some of the bitch didn't. You know, I'm the one normally supposed to be answering these kind of questions. Lions had a 34-point fourth quarter against Chicago and a 37-27 final in 2007.
Credit to our statistician here on the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report, Jonathan Nielsen.
Yeah, even though he ain't the statistician, mutter, standard deviations, mutter. Anyway.
For this particular episode, we'll give him the title, So That Happened. Let's talk about the douchebag that is Daniel Snyder. Whee!
Bad enough you disrespect one of the best defenders, arguably second best compared to Darryl Green as far as defensive back, who's played for your franchise, coming straight from the U, laying boomsticks on punters in the Pro Bowl, met a very, very tragic end. You disrespect him with that so-called statue, heavy use on air quotes, in front of your facility. Now, a report from Washington, the actual Washington, since you don't want to do anything with the side of former RFK, an investigatory committee revealed, yes, Dan Snyder knew about the hostile and toxic work environment created within the team.
You ready for my shocked face?
Ready. Oh, but first, yes, a hashtag Nielsen bit, gimmick infringing, courtesy of ProFootballHallOfFame.com. But that wasn't the only thing.
But wait, there's more.
General Manager Bruce Allen aided and abetted in that hostile work environment. And when the NFL did their investigation and their big report, the NFL knowingly knew more about it and covered it up. And if that wasn't enough, Ron...
But wait, there's more.
It came out today as part of that report that those infamous John Gruden emails that led to his firing, those releases were the direct doing of the Commanders themselves.
So what you're telling me is that was the pot calling the kettle a racist.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's my takeaway from this. That's the pot calling the kettle a racist.
Exactly. It's like, well, hey, as long as they ain't looking at us, they'll look at it instead. We all right.
Mister, and I use that term as absolutely loosely as possible, Snyder takes one to know one.
Look, I'm going to say this with no due respect whatsoever, Danny boy. You earned this title right alongside Mark Lamping in perpetuity. I don't even care if you sell the team at this point. That ain't going to save you in my mind.
You know, so I'm going to paraphrase an old joke here. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
The best day for him to sell the team was yesterday. The next best day is today.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and in imperfect fashion, again, using Bank of America as consulting to help sell the team. It just keeps getting better.
I think I just thought of a year-end award for the BWSREs. The Daniel Sterling Douchebag of the Year Award. Could also be called the Donald Snyder if you would prefer. Take your pick. Both acceptable.
I approve.
Both acceptable. We should talk about putting together a year-end award show, by the way.
We should.
It's specifically calendar year, not season year.
Oh, yeah.
So like a 2022 year-end award rather than an NFL, because we'll obviously do our postseason NFL awards once we get to the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so on a lighter fare, my story actually takes us to tonight. As once again, BWSR is going live through the Thursday night football game on Amazon Prime. Al Davis.
The spirit of Al Davis, although, Los Angeles and whatnot. Man, did Spectrum really hate that reference that much? It couldn't even let you finish and you just froze like that? Yeah, it is looking that way. Oh, well, you're back. There we go.
Okay, let's try that again. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit bring us Thursday night Fuck This, the now one touchdown included edition, as the Las Vegas Raiders are taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Raiders currently up 13-3. I had to exit out of the game for a quick second on my TV. I will be pulling it back up in a second in order to allow the buffering to correct itself. Technical difficulties here at Apartment de Broadhurst. Mm-hmm. But this game is notable for who is starting at quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams, or who isn't starting at quarterback, but is now starting at quarterback. Allow me to explain. When this game kicked off at 8:15 Eastern time, the starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams was John Wolford. Wolford. No, I did not make that name up. Matthew Stafford is apparently dealing what is believed to be PCS, post-concussive syndrome, which, yeah, if that's as legitimate if that's as real as they're saying it is, it could be curtains for Stafford's NFL career. It's that serious of a condition.
I've seen it happen other side of the world in Australia. Yes, that is very serious.
So, John Wolford got the start. John Wolford proved very ineffective in the first two drives against the Las Vegas Raiders. And who do the Rams turn to, Erik? Baker, touchdown maker. The new guy in town, Baker Mayfield, is now playing for the Los Angeles Rams. I will point out to you that he has been a Los Angeles Ram for less than 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
This ends well.
I mean, you did go ahead and you picked the Rams.
Okay, to be fair, I admit I put that pick in a little bit late, and they were already losing 10-0 by the time I made my pick. It was only fair that I picked them. If I'd have gotten the picks in when they were supposed to have been in, I probably would have taken the Raiders, but I didn't feel it was fair having a 10-0 advantage. So I'm more or less throwing the white flag in on this particular matchup.
I swear, Thursdays aren't your day. Mondays aren't your day.
Mondays, especially the last 2 weeks.
Sometimes Sundays aren't your day. We're trying to help you. We're trying to help you.
I had a couple of rough Saturdays during college football season.
True.
It wasn't a good year for yours, truly, when it comes to predictions.
Yeah, as John is saying, been there last week. Yeah. And it's funny because I was specifically mentioned with him as Brian said, hey, he's scrambling to get his picks in. There they go. If he wins the week, you can 110% blame it on me. And I'm like, I am not that worried. Turns out I didn't have to be worried.
16-3 Raiders now, by the way.
Not to mention Brian can finally get off all of our backs with the one tie now that we have two. Somewhere Gus Farrat is smiling.
We talked about this off air, actually, and then we'll move on from the NFL stories. Because realistically speaking, we're both kind of casually, good pass by Mayfield there to number 12. I believe that's Van Jefferson, the former Gator.
That is Van Jefferson.
The former Gator. You have to add that part.
The Van Jefferson, the former Gator.
Thank you. Much obliged. Rest in peace, Sean Taylor. All right. Anyways, so what I was going to say was, what was I going to say? I lost it.
We were casually watching the game.
Oh yeah, we're only kind of casually watching the Thursday night football game this week, just because. Let's be honest, it's 5-7 Las Vegas against 3-9 Los Angeles. It's not really a whole lot worth watching, but I need a ding.
Whoop.
Vegas's record after 12 games last year was 5-7. They won their 13th game last year to move to 6-7 and proceeded to make the playoffs for Derek Carr's first playoff game as the Raiders starting quarterback. The Raiders had made the playoffs one other season under Derek Carr's tenure. However, he was injured for that game and did not play. So a little bit of potential history repeating itself here with the Raiders if they can get to 6-7 and hope for the best, because currently those last two playoff spots in the AFC are only at 7-5. So there is room for error.
And not to mention, if it were to come down to week 18 and teams need a tie, somebody stupidly calls a timeout, you never know what can happen.
Looking at you, Chargers. I'll say it. You don't have to. I'll say it. So, that happened.
Dadgummit, NFC East giving us a to be continued. I mean, technically, since they'll go ahead and face each other in 2 weeks.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that game in 2 weeks was flexed to Sunday Night Football, was it not?
Yes. Yes, it was.
By the way, that Bills-Dolphins game that we talked about is Saturday night on NFL Network next week.
Yes, the night game of that triple header.
8:15 p.m. start. All right, in Buffalo. The second of two back-to-back home games against division rivals for the Bills. Actually, it might be the second of three, because I think we play we play Patriots week 18, last week of the season. All right, back to it here. So we talked about Shedeur Sanders a little bit earlier on in the podcast. We talked about the fact that he led Jackson State 30 of 43, 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. 43-24 Jackson State victory over Southern to win the Southwestern Athletic Conference and move to what is generally considered the historically black colleges and universities college football championship game, the Celebration Bowl, where they'll take on the North Carolina Central Eagles. Yeah, except Deion Sanders might not be coaching that game. And Shedeur Sanders might not be playing in that game.
Uh-oh.
There's a new coach at the University of Colorado, in case you haven't heard.
That was a fine-looking number 21 jersey in that black and white.
As Coach Prime has taken the gig at the University of Colorado. And when he had his press conference, again, he's bringing his own baggage, and it's Louis, pointed to his son, Shedeur Sanders, and asked him to stand up. And when Shedeur did, said, "That's your new quarterback." There's more.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. So you're telling me...
But wait, there's more.
To find the part of our Facebook conversation where I had it there, because I don't want to screw this up. I want to quote this directly from the article. Per Facebook and Second Take on Facebook. So again, grain of salt.
Stories yet to be confirmed. Currently unconfirmed, but these are still rumblings.
According to a source, Jackson State University is in the hot seat for misuse of football funds. Individuals were stealing money from the football program by moving the money to the general funds and scholarships, basically stealing from Coach Prime and the players. 80% of the reason why Deion Sanders is leaving. Furthermore, Jackson State University put a clause in Deion's contract that after 30K ticket sales, he would receive a portion of the sales. That did not happen the whole time he was there. The ticket sales went missing. That Deion, the football team, nor the staff saw any of that money. There was a lucrative TV deal in place that Deion wanted to get, but the university did not. Deion, with his own money, built a new locker room and tennis courts for the university. All the new designs, the new players' lounge. He also used his own money to feed the players. All the fancy meals you saw the players eating, Deion. When Jackson State went to the Celebration Bowl last year, the school didn't give any money back to athletics. Deion used a lot of his personal money to fund numerous things around campus. The university did not help. The president wanted his name in the headlines as much as Deion. Deion wanted to coach the Celebration Bowl this year. Jackson State president said no, and the Celebration Bowl is sold out. The jury is still out as to whether or not he will coach. A last-minute offer was made for $1 million for Deion to stay at Jackson State, but he would have to pay his staff out of that. There was no new offer made after the first year of success. Okay, let's break this down example by example here real quick. Because the first thing of that is that $1 million offer that was made for him to stay. If that number is legitimate, and I doubt that it is, but even if it is legitimate, he's getting 5 times that for the University of Colorado.
Yeah, he's like, the Colorado was like, look, $5 million, build your staff. Have at it.
Number 2, if it is true that Jackson State was taking money out of the football and athletics funds and using it to fund their general scholarship, I have 2 simple words for Jackson State. Death penalty. That is a program revoking violation in the eyes of the NCAA. And if it comes out that that report is accurate, you will deserve everything that happens to you.
And this is a conversation that I had been having in particular. If you look at the past 5 years or so, there's been a variety of HBCUs that have been in trouble, some form or fashion. You've had academic issues at Grambling, multiple teams not involved in postseasons, and a lack of upgrades and finances for necessary things for athletics, especially football. Florida A&M, academic issues. Again, issues with the postseason. I have said in a few places, especially on a Discord server that I'm on, and if you want to go ahead and join our Discord server, coming 2023. I have said for HBCUs to really go ahead and claim any sort of rightful dominance. No disrespect whatsoever to the Celebration Bowl. I think it's a fantastic idea. But if you really want an extra bit of credibility, fine. Move your seasons, get in line, and make runs at the FCS playoffs. What Deion Sanders showed is that when you have someone like him, knowledgeable, incredible in the game, incredible as a coach, with his son Shador leading them to a TAPS title, Texas Association of Private and Parochial Schools in high school, helping catapult him, along with a Snapchat series, to the Jackson State job. This is success that has not been seen on a level in that school in quite some time. Imagine.
I would argue that this is the most successful HBCU university since the days of Eddie Robinson at Grambling.
Exactly. And can you imagine what they would be doing if they were in the playoffs right now?
The FCS playoffs that are just now to the quarterfinals?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, fun fact, did you notice or not, all 8 home teams won last week. All 8 seeded teams won in the FCS round of in the round of 16 last week.
Huh. That's actually a pretty rare feat, especially since expansion.
Continue.
But this actually ties into a good point. Going back to the financial issues, Deion said himself, we would love to be in the FCS playoffs. We would love to make these runs. But we don't have the money for that. HBCUs don't have the money for that. And I looked into it. As part of the FCS seeding and how they do their brackets, especially the first couple of rounds, they want to have as many bus trips as possible, meaning 2 schools no more than 400 miles apart. And once the matchups are determined, they do not affect or change any other seeding going forward. But once the matchups are determined, you have to bid to host that playoff game. A minimum of $30,000 for the first round, $40,000, then $50,000, and then $60,000 for the semifinal. Yeah, I read about that because I was like, hey, wait a minute.
That feels like a complete and total money grab by the NCAA.
And think about this. For all of the money, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, that the Celebration Bowl in Orlando would generate in those for those schools, if something like this is going on and you're getting all of these profits, bidding, where is the money for this bidding? You could easily, with a couple 100,000, it would be a struggle, but if you win, naturally you get that gate revenue back.
I was just about to say, whatever you're spending on bidding in order to host those games, you would have to think that the ticket sales alone would probably generate that money back.
Absolutely.
Most, if not all of it, and then concessions and everything at the games as well. And a school like Jackson State could do like a meet and greet opportunity as well, with Sanders as part of a VIP experience for the bundle. So it wouldn't make any sense for them not to want to get involved in the FCS postseason. But sorry, continue. I'm sidetracking.
No, but this brings up excellent points, and all credit to what he did. He also said himself, it's not his job to raise the level of HBCUs, and it's not. But for something like this to prevent it from happening again, and if all of this is true from Jackson State, if I'm any HBCU, Alabama A&M, Mississippi Valley State, Grambling, Southern, Florida A&M, North Carolina A&T.
Just, you mentioned Mississippi Valley State, home of famed NFL alum Jerry Rice.
And Alcorn State, Jackson State, home of famed alum Walter Payton.
Alcorn State, Steve McNair.
Exactly. If I'm any of these HBCUs.
May he rest in peace.
If I'm any of these schools, I have a sit down. I have a big sit down. If ever there was a time for a come to Jesus meeting, it's right here. When HBCUs were starting to get so much of a higher profile, thanks in large part to Deion Sanders' success, and then this happens, what is this doing for the culture and everything else?
Well, let's look at Florida A&M, actually. Florida A&M last year, when Jackson State won the Southwestern Athletic Conference, Florida A&M made the NCAA FCS playoffs as a wild card team. They went out in the first round, but they still went. I feel like Jackson State could have made a strong run in this year's postseason. They were the number 3 ranked team in the country.
Absolutely. And if you look at the fact that that same Florida A&M loss was what the committee considered by not having them in the bracket this year.
The fact that last year they only lost 7-6 in the monsoon game, whereas this year they got blown out by Jackson State.
59-3, if I remember correctly.
I believe you are correct, yes.
Yeah. These are the kinds of things that are in the committee's mind, just like it'll be for everything when we get to our 12-team college football playoff in 2024. These factors are going to be coming in. So if I am these HBCUs, I'm like, what do we have to do to help ourselves? And I make this consideration number 1. You can still have the Celebration Bowl, still keep it in some form or fashion, but have your top teams go to the playoffs.
Have the Celebration Bowl after the FCS championship playoffs are done. If you want to give both of those teams another chance to play there. Florida A&M lost 59-3. Shedeur Sanders went 29-33 for 323 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. The point of all of this is to say that the signs of impropriety at these historically black colleges and universities are doing nothing but deterring further generations of athletes from going there. And you will see these HBCUs, some of which have some of the longest tenures in college football history. I go back to what I said about Jerry Rice at Mississippi Valley State, Steve McNair at Alcorn State. Erik mentioned Walter Payton at Jackson State. Eddie Robinson, famed coach at Grambling. You're going to see less and less of these marquee names going to these HBCUs because of the fact that they know that there's no way for them to compete at these schools. And even if they are competitive at these schools, they'll be competitive with subpar facilities around them that won't train them for that next level.
Not at all. And it's a damn shame. Featuring, does the BWSR cover the NAIA Championship is December 17th? I am assuming because of this, Kaiser University, which I didn't even know had a team, is in the NAIA playoffs. There is another show, all credit to them, the R&R Sports Report with Randy Isbell and Robert Hagan, klzz.com, 89.9. If you're in the 88.9?
88.9.
It's been so long since I forget the frequency. If you're in the Lewiston, Idaho, or Clarkston, Washington area, you can also check out the R&R Sports Report on Facebook and YouTube. Yeah, they are the ones, because of Lewis and Clark State, they are definitely your NAIA go-to folks.
Me, I'm more of a D3 guy because Mount Union is like an hour away from me.
Damn shame not to even see Wisconsin Whitewater make the field this year. I was shooketh.
I'm a little shook of hearing this.
Yes, I went ahead and I looked it up. Going through the SCS D2, D3, I'm like, all right, there's Mount Union. Where's the Warhawks? I don't see the Warhawks. Warhawks didn't make it.
Shooketh. Scroll it. I assume that's the championship game.
Number 12 Kaiser 10-3 versus number 3 Northwestern of Iowa 12-1.
I thought that was a journalism school.
Number 1 and number 2.
Get Kaiser, that was meant for Northwestern.
And Kaiser knocked off the number 1 line. Maybe their esports teams could learn a thing or two from their football team, but I digress.
Well, I mean, he did say that the game is on the 17th. Is it on ESPN Plus?
I wouldn't think so, but
you'd be surprised because they covered D3 on ESPN Plus.
This is true.
And the D3 National Championship game has been on ESPN2 in the past as well.
The Stag Bowl, which has been relocated.
The Amos Alonzo Stag Bowl. Look at me knowing stuff. And I'm not
the big brain on this guy.
I'm not even drinking things. I just know stuff.
Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll be on the lookout.
I will keep an eye out for that next Saturday. All right. So that was my So That Happened collegiate edition. The story of potential impropriety at Jackson State. And if that comes out to be factual, I assure you all that will be a huge story this offseason. Like we're talking SMU team killing potential here.
I don't want to bring up the old wounds of February 25th, 1987. But it may happen again. I'm just saying. If you go down to that part of the country and you see some dark gray clouds hanging over the school that day, and you see a few extra news trucks and a press conference, it's going to be bad.
It's going to be real bad. So we talked about we talked about historic scores a little bit ago with the 73-0 Chicago Bears Washington Redacted's NFL championship game. Mm-hmm. There was another historic score in the collegiate level of 222-0.
Ah, yes.
I of course refer to Cumberland. I of course refer to Georgia Tech versus Cumberland. And Georgia Tech's coach, John Heisman. How is this?
John Q. Heisman.
How is this relevant? Well, Mr. Watkins, so that happened.
Yeah. You heard that name correctly. Yeah, he was a bit of a dick. We've talked about that game. But that doesn't take away from a fact that there's a trophy named after him.
16-10 Raiders, 2 minutes and 58 seconds with a rolling clock. Third down. Rams are out of timeouts, however. So,
so you think a first down,
a first down conversion here more or less salts this game away. It doesn't completely end it, but it more or less puts this thing done and dusted. Continue.
Yep. And again, shout out to Secret Base, who did a wonderful deep dive on that infamous game.
John Boyce.
But yes, there is the Heisman Trophy at the club in New York.
They stopped him. It's 4th and 1.
Oh, snap. Yeah, I'm seeing. Well, that was a terrible choice of a run play. Well, now they've got to go ahead and run down the clock to pass the 2-minute warning and kick.
We just hit the 2-minute warning here. They're about at midfield. I don't know. I think you might go for this.
Well, it's not quite at midfield, though. It looks like they're at their own 35.
It looked closer to midfield than that to me.
Yeah, let me look back at this, because I think
definitely didn't get the first down on the replay.
Yeah, they're at their own 32.
Okay. No, at that on your side of the 30, you kick it.
Yeah, definitely kick it.
I thought they were closer to midfield than they were. My visual was confusing. But anyways, continue your commentary on the dick that was John Q. Heisman.
Yeah, we're coming a long way from that fateful day back in 15?
I can look that up right now, although I'm sure Jonathan Nielsen's probably going to beat me to it.
But with all of that, the venerated halls of the Fame Club in New York City, where your handful of athletes...
1916.
16. I knew it was right around that time during the throes of the First World War, but I digress. This year, Stetson Bennett, Max Duggan, CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams.
Who, hopefully, Caleb is okay after getting injured in the Pac-12 title game. Although, one would argue that the fingernail messages, maybe not the best example to set.
Not to mention, that's one thing if you go out and actually win. Just saying. So those are not only your 4 top quarterbacks, but your 4 finalists for this year's Heisman Trophy. I have yet to look up the odds. I will do so before Saturday, but me being the gambling man that I am, and I also always go back to the Heisman Committee and Heisman voters trends. You look at 3 games. Your marquee, your rivalry game, and your last game. If you look at Stetson Bennett's performances, the big marquee game beginning of the season against Oregon, the rivalry game, the outdoor cocktail party, and a little thing known as the SEC Championship in Atlanta, where the Bulldogs won another trip to Atlanta. Yeah, he's my odds-on favorite to pick up the hardware this year.
I would say that if Duggan and TCU had won the Big 12 title, then you probably give a slight edge to Max Duggan there. And the reason being is that Bennett wasn't even listed as the second best quarterback in his conference on the SEC year-end awards. He didn't even make second team All-SEC. I believe it went to, I know first team was Hendon Hooker. I don't recall who got second team All-SEC, though.
But you know what I have to say to that? That listing is ageist as all hell. How dare they disrespect the oldest quarterback to start an SEC championship game and win one?
They had a picture on Facebook today that I saw. Lamar Jackson at 26 and Stetson Bennett at 26. Something like the fact that they were both born in 1997.
Yeah, both born, he's not quite 26, 25 years and 1 month. That is the age of Stetson Bennett.
Or both born in 1996, excuse me. The point being is that we've seen this happen with the All-SEC awards before, though. Because if I'm not mistaken, the year that Peyton Manning won the Heisman Trophy, he wasn't an All-SEC second-team quarterback either.
True.
So it wouldn't surprise me to see Stetson Bennett take home the hardware there. If Hendon Hooker doesn't get hurt, Hendon Hooker wins this award, in my opinion.
Going away.
Because I don't think that Tennessee loses the 2 games that they lose at the end of the season with Hooker playing. And B, I don't think Bennett's numbers are enough to offset what Hooker did coming out of absolutely nowhere to take over the SEC this year before his injury.
Oh, I concur with you. And that's really the shame. The fact that those last couple of games and the injury and everything else, he's got the stats for it. He would have the votes for it. But unfortunately, that's the way it goes.
What an absolutely stupid penalty by the Raiders there.
I mean, like you said.
Oh, what a throw!
Like you said about the spirit of Al Davis.
Okay, so you probably just saw the penalty. Watch the throw that follows it here on first down.
Okay, because I'm seeing the replay and the penalty. Yep, swiping the ball out of his hand. And another angle of swiping the ball out of his hand.
Watch the first down throw is all I'm going to say. It is an absolute dime.
Oh, that is not fair! That is not fair!
That's an absolute dime.
Where the hell was this when he was in Carolina? I know this wasn't in Cleveland because Cleveland is Cleveland, but what the hell?
Mayfield calling for the spike. Oh, I'm sorry, you're behind me. I can't be giving away stuff.
Well, yeah, I would imagine they would call for the spike here. No timeouts and about 45 seconds left.
There's a little bit less time left than that. That's all I will say for now. But anyways, we can officially wrap up the So That Happened graphic. I'm with you. I think Stetson Bennett wins. I think CJ Stroud screwed himself in the game against Michigan.
Yeah, that was the rivalry, and that was his last game.
Because he didn't make the conference championship. And if USC losing to Utah the way they lost to Utah in the Pac-12 title game probably ended Caleb Williams' hopes.
Absolutely.
And you could make the argument, like we just talked about, that Max Duggan and TCU losing to K-State in the Big Ten title game probably ended Duggan's chances. Oh, my God! I have no words.
I'm going to find out momentarily. And,
apologies to our listeners with headphones. Hashtag headphone warning.
Okay. All right. I see them lining up. Play clock running down. All right. Seeing the snap. 1.66 to throw. What the ever-living shit was that?
That was Tampa Bay, New Orleans, take 2.
This time potentially in your favor if they get the extra point.
Ice the kicker timeout by Vegas. What a pair of absolute dimes by Mayfield.
Are we going to be seeing At Home with Baker Mayfield commercials at SoFi? I legit kind of think we are.
Back-to-back dimes.
Again, I think we're going to see At Home with Baker Mayfield at SoFi.
This particular one to the former Gator, Van Jefferson.
Wow. And that... I mean, if they got the 17, matching his jersey number, some of the bitch woke up feeling dangerous. Okay.
And now he gets a hug from Matthew Stafford. Aww. I have no words about what just happened in the final 15 seconds of this football game. We'll see if we, as I understand it, Erik, the band is on the field. I mean, not officially, but they might have to be here shortly.
Again, what does Scott Van Pelt and Stanford Steve say all the time? Hashtag pitchy woo woo.
Sean McVay celebrating is hilarious. All right. I'm a survivor.
You're going to have some extra chunk or Campbell's chunky soup tonight.
My official survivor pick is the Los Angeles. No, I'm kidding. So last year, week 13 or 14, I think it was, Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson went down with an injury, and the Ravens slid all the way from leading the NFC North to out of the playoffs.
You mean the ANFC North?
Or the AFC North. My apology. Wow, solid throwback. Well played. Well played. Anyway, the AFC North to out of the postseason. Well, last week, Baltimore's playing. Lamar Jackson got hurt again. And now the Ravens are in a tie with the Cincinnati Bengals for the lead in the ANFC North. That one intentional. You know what this feels like, Erik? It feels like deja vu all over again. That's right. I said it. And in this particular, I think we have a ball game, sir.
We do. This might be a good omen.
I know. I think we legitimately have the end of a ball game here. I think there may have been a pitch attempt on the kickoff that was fumbled and recovered by that's Carr. So never mind. I take that back. But
yeah, again, they did the pitchy woo woo.
No, they didn't get a chance to pitchy woo woo because Carr got intercepted.
Why are you throwing down like that? You don't throw the first pass that far for pitchy woo woo. Okay, this is good omen. This is good omen for you.
1-0. By the skin and the hairs on my chinny chin. I mean, there are a lot of hairs there, but still. Back to I'm a survivor here now that the game is officially over because holy shit, what a finish. I'm dumbfounded presently.
Yeah, weren't you riding Derek Carr and Daniel Carlson as your kicker? Yeah. How'd those work out for you? Well, at least one team potentially going to a Kaiser Bowl.
Oh.
Yeah, I said it.
Oof. Tough crowd. Tough crowd.
Yeah, you know why I said it?
Why? Because fuck them, that's why.
Fair enough. So anyways, as I said, it is a case of deja vu all over again in Baltimore. And it starts this week with Kenny Two Gloves Pickett and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Give me the Steelers over the Ravens in a battle of the AFC North rivals.
See, you have the AFC North.
I do.
I've got the NFC North.
You mean the ANFC North?
Exactly.
Yes, them.
Now, there's a certain quarterback that has drawn nothing but anger and ire from some of us here at the network.
But enough about Aaron Rodgers. Oh, sorry.
If you happen to be watching this week, you know exactly who I'm talking about and exactly why. But for those of you that don't know, there's a certain game, division rivalry, going off at a certain time. 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central. Why is that time familiar? Well, I'm glad you asked.
Why is that time familiar?
Again, I'm glad you asked. There's a certain quarterback that happens to do phenomenally well at that time. So many of those games have been scheduled at that time and a couple of other extra flukes and whatnot to where his team could have clinched said division. last week.
Did they really?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh,
More on that later. This week, though, they get a crack at it. Another crack at it, if you will.
Oh, right. We'll homer that up here in a few moments.
That's right. Captain Kirk Cousins.
I actually really like that name for him. If we could keep that for the show now going forward. Live long and prosper, Kirk.
They also had a wonderful episode of Gridiron Heights that was in the theme of Fargo. Very hilarious. He's playing the Detroit Lions at not so famed and venerable Ford Field in a 1:00 game against a team coming off of a big win.
Hold on. Out of curiosity, do you know who the last team to win 2 in a row at Ford Field was?
Let's go Buffalo.
So the Lions have an opportunity to win 2 in a row at Ford Field?
Yeah.
Where's Lee Corso when you need him?
Not so fast, my friend.
That's a GIF we need for this show.
Excuse me one moment while the producer gets the producer to produce things.
I don't know why it's just now hitting me, but that is a GIF we definitely need for this show. Or at least a little animated clip there, so that way we can have Lee himself saying it. Because well wishes sent out to Lee Corso as per usual. Take the rest of the year, get better. We hope to see you back next season, Coach.
Hey, as long as I see you wearing the Sebastian the Ibis headgear next season, all will be right in the world. But for my Survivor, it's going to be a big-time deal in Minnesota, don't you know? Give me the Vikings. I said it.
How I Met Your Watkins? Please tell me you get that reference. Because the assistant coach on Coach played Jason Segel's dad on How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother, yeah.
And he spoke with that exact accent for being in Minnesota. Hilarious. All right. How I Met Your Mother, a better version of Friends. Fight me.
You ain't gonna get any arguments from me.
Other than the stupid finish, but neither here nor there.
I mean, hey. Nope. I've done good so far. I'm gonna keep going.
I would do terrible things to Colby Smulders, but Robin and Ted should not have ended up together. All right, we move forward. Time to pour one out for the homers. Yeah, you just mentioned them a few seconds ago, so you might as well tear the Band-Aid off here. Woof sounds about accurate.
Where the fuck was our defense?
Well, I will say this much. The Forsythe Okalunu, your middle linebacker, he won me my fantasy football matchup.
Well, I mean, that's very good. Congratulations to you for that. But one man doth not a defense make. What the hell are we making Jared Goff look like Matt Stafford for? 40 points.
Monkey.
40 points. They scored 40 points
in a 40-14 rout.
I can't knock Trevor Lawrence. It wasn't the best game, but it was nowhere near a clunker. He's shown improvement. So receivers dropped 5 passes. Travis Etienne, thankfully, he's good to go, but I don't get it. I don't get it.
As unfortunate as it is to say, it looks like it gets worse this week as you guys take on the division-leading Tennessee Titans, having once again found their way back to the top of the Tannehill.
I have some hope for this, but I just have one expectation. If King Henry trucks someone else, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I can't live through that again. I just can't.
I will say this much. Henry has not had anywhere near the kind of season that he's used to having. Buffalo shut him down when Buffalo played them. The last 2 weeks, he hasn't gotten over 100 yards either. And I think, who was it? Kansas City held him to like 35 yards in their matchup. Or no, Cincinnati held him to like 35 yards when they faced 2 weeks ago. So Henry has not been nearly the dominant force that he has been over the course of the last previous couple of seasons.
And you can attribute that to more Tannehill again, finding his feet, not having A.J. Brown. Oh, boy. Yeah, their general manager kind of got fired for that one. But the thing is, with the rest of the division the way it is, they're vulnerable, but they're doing enough. I have a bit of hope, and I will mention that later. But again, hope versus expectations. I'm hoping taking the hopium doesn't come back to bite me. And from John, with his pick,
we'll talk about that game a little bit later on.
And
shall we? Let's go ahead. Go back to the graphic. So I talked about the Buffalo Bills game last week, but I don't need to. You know why? Because you already heard me talk about it last week on the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
Because last week's game was Thursday Night Football, which we covered live in the second half of a 24-10 Buffalo win over the New England Patriots, which at no point did it look like the Patriots stood a chance to win that game, even after allowing them to take an early 7-0 lead. This week, so Bray Wyatt said that revenge is an admission of pain. 3 weeks ago, in the dumpster fire that is the Meadowlands, MetLife Stadium, the Jets beat the Bills to, at that time, take over first place in the division. Miami would then proceed to take that away from them when they won in the 4 o'clock window. Miami would hold that for all of a week before losing. The Jets would lose. And then, I take out my paper. I don't actually physically have today's newspaper here anymore. I threw it away. I look at the standings. I look at the NFC East standings. And I see New England 6-6. The Jets 7-5. Miami 8-4. Buffalo 9-3. First place in the division. Ron Pompey, if you will.
I got to scroll back down.
But wait, there's more.
Number 1 in the AFC again. Hi, Robert Taylor. How you doing? The point being, yeah, we took a couple of week hiatus. Yeah, there were back-to-back losses that were not great as a Bills fan. I'll admit it. The Jets being the second of those losses after losing to the Vikings the week prior in a game that we were never really in.
Hashtag 1 o'clock Kirk Cousins.
This time, you're in our house, bitches. Revenge is an admission of pain. And it's about to get real painful on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Let's go Buffalo. As a matter of fact, segue.
Segue.
Are you serious?
Are you serious?
Buffalo -10 at home against the Jets is one of my locks.
I talked about the man. I'm putting my record and my picks where my mouth is. This spread, a little bit too close for my liking. Little bit of easy money. Minnesota laying the deuce in Ford Field.
Oh, speaking of which, we are now predicting 4 NFL games a week for the rest of the season because of the fact that the college football regular season is over. Therefore, for the rest of the season, the 3-point spread rule for the NFL is waived. We will predict the college games as well, but our predictions for the college football bowl games will probably be straight up going forward. So, we'll set up the ESPN thing, and then we'll announce our picks on air as well.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, so you've got Minnesota -2 against Detroit, or at Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
My other NFL lock of the week is another revenge game. Funny how that works out, isn't it? It's a couple of weeks ago on Monday Night Football where Cincinnati went to Cleveland, on Thursday Night Football, where Cincinnati went to Cleveland and got their asses beat by the Browns. Cincinnati hasn't lost since. Give me the Bengals -5.5 hosting Cleveland.
You know, there's been all kinds of memes, all kinds of jokes, all kinds of wanted signs for a certain quarterback who made a very high-profile deal. I've gone with this team. I've gone against this team. It's caused heartache, pain, a few things. But I'm going to sum up my other lock in 4 simple words. Broncos country? Fuck you. Chiefs -9.5.
I thought you were going to sum them up in 4 different words.
No.
The 4 words that described Sunday Night Football last week.
Yeah. No. I don't think it'll be that bad, but
ain't nobody got time for that, is what you're saying?
Pretty much.
Let's switch over to our underdog picks for the week, Eric. Why don't you go? Oh, I missed something. What did I miss?
The Jets are a road team. I'm picking the coach who is turning around his New York Jets over the Bills and Mike White. I'm not going to say the joke here, but note this for Sunday. That's all I'm going to say. Note this for Point of Viewer on Sunday.
That's fine. That's all I'm going to say. Beware the quiet man. All right. Let's switch over to our underdogs for the week, Eric. You go ahead and go first here.
I'm ripping off another Band-Aid. I said I have hope. I probably shouldn't. This could probably come back to bite me. However, as we say here on the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report,
go big
or go Homer. Jaguars +3.5 at Tennessee. They've lost 2 in a row. They're vulnerable. We can make that 3 in a row.
The JTN's comment from 11:24 p.m. if you don't mind. Can't believe I'm saying this. Give me the Dolphins at the Chargers. Can't believe I'm saying this. Give me the Chargers +3 against the Dolphins.
And now go Chargers, go.
Who's your other underdog, Eric?
Another 3.5. Another team that kind of caused you a little bit of pain?
The pain, the shame, the 17-16. Oh, wait, that worked out in my favor tonight. Never mind.
Yeah. As much as I enjoy seeing Brock Purdy, outside of your college football diehards, who the hell knows who Brock Purdy is?
I mean, we know who he is because of the phrase Mr. Irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
And he do have a Purdy mouth, boy.
Don't start the banjos playing. Well, I mean,
that.
Then again, you got a Florida man coming to town, so anything can happen. Tampa Bay plus 3.5 at the Niners.
Give me a T.
T.
Give me an I.
I.
Give me an E.
E.
What's that spell? Playoff
Tie.
berth. Playoff berth. Because as of right now, it's the reason they're still in. I don't think they win this game, but I don't think it's a blowout either. And I do think Philadelphia is vulnerable. Give me the New York Football Giants plus 7 hosting the Philadelphia Eagles.
Interesting.
And now for our final prediction of the week, our final college football regular season Are You Serious of the year. And we say this every year when we talk about the game. This is bar none. Fool me. This is bar none the most important college football game of the season. 4-7 versus 5-6. That doesn't matter. What matters is these are the young men and the young women on the sidelines who will be shaping the future of this country. The Cowboys like to call themselves America's team, Erik. Go ahead and bring yourself back in here. But this is America's game. From Annapolis, Maryland. From Philadelphia, Pennsylvania this year, I believe. I think they're back in Philly this year.
Yeah, I was about to say, they are back at the link.
At Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is 4-7 Navy versus 5-6 Army. And if you disagree that this is America's game, you're wrong. Navy is a 2.5-point favorite. I make the same prediction every year, regardless of how good or bad these respective teams are. I have multiple friends who served in the Navy. I have multiple friends who served in the Army. To me, I've always been a Navy fan in this game. I have always rooted for Navy in this game, regardless of circumstance. Navy could have been 1-10 coming into this game, and I would have still picked them. Army's 5-6, but 2 of those wins are against FCS competition. One of Navy's wins is against FCS competition. So if you want to look at it that way, technically speaking, these are both 3-win clubs this year. Doesn't matter. This matters is who wants it more. And after Army's won 2 in a row, now that they're back where this game belongs in Philadelphia, home of the Liberty Bell, home of the foundation of freedom, to me, I think Vegas has this one right. Give me Navy minus 2.5. And a very special shout out to our former co-hostess with the mostest, Miss Kennedy Eddings. Go Navy, beat Army.
Now, those of you who've known me especially the past couple of years, in my prediction in this game. I too have friends who served. I have helped out as far as some of my students as a tutor. Fine folks at Bricks TNT LLC. Very military friendly. And I also have family who served. I've even done reports and was featured on the radio for one of my uncles in his service on a battleship. You said it yourself. Who wants it more? We talked about bowl games and bowl eligibility. ESPN went ahead and made the move of canceling the Frisco Football Classic because there wouldn't be enough bowl eligible teams no matter how you slice it. So for Navy in particular, even with this, knowing what Army is trying to do, knowing that this is it for them, continuing their win streak at making it 3 in a row. And there's been a lot of people on the football field in the Naval Academy. A lot of stuff going on. But this is something completely different. I am going against my predictions of the past couple of years. Go Navy, beat Army. I'm right alongside you. Navy -2.5. And I'm going to be even cheekier this year.
Navy by 3.
Not just that. Something that doesn't happen a lot with these two teams. I'm going to take the over.
Interesting.
It's at 32.5. Option teams. I get it entirely. This is going to be a close one. But the Naval Academy will be the one singing second.
I was just about to say, this isn't so much about what happens on the field. It's about what happens after it.
Mm-hmm.
And which team gets to, as they say in the services, which team gets to sing second. Because for those who don't know, if you haven't seen it before, A, you're missing out on one of the great American football traditions.
Hands down.
B, when they say sing second in the military rivalry games, even going to Air Force that Jonathan mentioned, in the Commander-in-Chief trophy games, the winner of the game plays their alma mater second. The loser of the game sings first. That's what they mean when they say they want to sing second in these games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, Eric. I know I have a relatively busy weekend ahead of me. Obviously, football on Sunday, plans with the girlfriend Sunday night, NXT deadline on Saturday night. But when that clock strikes 3 p.m. Eastern on Saturday afternoon, my ass will be sitting in front of a television set. CBS on the TV, and the renewal on a neutral field, as it should be, of America's game.
Same here. I might be doing some tutoring, helping out, spreading my mathematical and statistical wisdom. But be damn sure, even if I'm going to be teaching statistics, that game's going to be on in the background.
You have been listening to the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
A presentation of the Not a Network podcasts. I guess I should say Not a Network podcast network, huh? That would make more sense.
It would.
Regardless, twitter.com/Not a Network pods. Twitch.tv/AWP podcast. New handle forthcoming, probably beginning of the year. YouTube.com by searching for Not a Network pods or by searching specifically for the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Handle change coming 2023. Going to get on that.
He is at Squid Sportshead. And if you didn't like today's show, you can send your hate mail to @HEB the Eagle on Twitter or HEB the Eagle @yahoo.com. But do remember this for us, please. That if you were to take our Are You Serious predictions and try to make some money off of them, 21 means 21.
God damn it!
Obey all local, state, and federal gambling laws. Please gamble responsibly. 1-800-522-4700. Eric, where can people place those legally responsible bets?
Well, you can hashtag bet on Bovada and place those responsible bets no more that you can lose, unlike Bitcoin, at bovada.lv. Again, you've got the World Cup. You've got Army Navy. You've got so many wonderful things. For those of you cricket lovers, England, Pakistan, after that first test, what's Australia doing now as they start day 2 of their second test for the Frank Worrell Trophy against the West Indies? You name it, it's there. You'll have esports coming up as we approach the beginning of the 2023 season. All right there, bovada.lv, hashtag bet on Bovada. They've got great offers. You won't regret it.
He mentions World Cup. Well, I say we talk about those quarterfinals. What do you say we do this again here in a few moments?
Let's. I think
across many of these same, all of these same Not a Network Podcast Network affiliates. He's Erik Watkins. I'm Harry Broadhurst. This has been the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
The football edition. The all sports edition is coming at you shortly here on the Not a Network Podcast Network.
You have been listening to the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report, Sports in Black and White, a presentation of the Not a Network Podcast Network, available online via most major streaming services. Please stay tuned for more Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report over most of our Not a Network channels.